can't believe I have to follow Omid. But now you see why I chose him as my campaign manager. And my opponent is saying, oh, she's got a high school senior running her campaign. Well, little does he know. Little does he know. So now you know. I want to thank you, Eddie, for your kind words.
My pleasure.
Thank you for serving this morning as MC, and thank you for your many, many years of friendship. I really appreciate you. Thank you to all the many people who made this breakfast a success this morning, and I'm just thrilled and honored to have you all here. Thank you to the Scouts from Troop 366. Thank you, Abigail. And Reverend Hardman, thank you. Thank you to my good friend Joe Herbert, Mayor Herbert, for your moving and very appropriate words this morning about those we remember and honor this day on September 11th. To Eileen Cipriani and members of the West Wyoming Borough Council who have been so extremely helpful in this campaign, I can't thank you enough for all your work. To Omid, a very special young man who has a tremendously bright future ahead of him. I thank all of you for your belief in me as your candidate and for all your help with the campaign so far. I am deeply appreciative. An extra special thank you for their work all year, every year, to my extraordinary legislative aides, Sarah Karlowitz and Lana Mulvey. Lana's going to cry now. They serve the people of the 120th District with dedication to meeting their needs and with such kindness, compassion, and competence that our office has a well-deserved, sterling reputation for constituent service. Thank you, Sarah and Lana, my friends and my colleagues. There are so many issues that I know you are concerned about that I really had a very hard time trying to keep my remarks somewhat brief. I went back and forth with potential topics, and then I saw a quote on Facebook that inspired me. President Obama posted on Facebook the following: "We can't have a strong and growing economy without a strong and growing middle class." And it struck me that for the last 20 years, as your representative in Harrisburg, a strong and growing middle class is what I've been fighting for. The wealthy and the well-connected are doing just fine, even in these difficult economic times. But it's my hard-working middle-class families who play by the rules and do what society asks of them who are being squeezed. It's my middle-class retirees who thought that through hard work, prudent savings, and investment, they would retire in relative comfort, who are being squeezed. They are squeezed by healthcare costs that are rising faster than the rate of inflation, by ever higher utility bills and burdensome property taxes. These are issues that I have worked so hard on over all of these years. And while I haven't solved all of your problems yet, my work has made a difference in your health insurance rates, your utility rates, and yes, believe it or not, in your property taxes. But there is still so much work to be done. That is why I'm running for re-election, because there is still so much work to be done. I have made progress in solving some of our district's flood control problems. Wade Run in Swearsville, Hicks Creek, Toby's Creek are all prone to flooding our homes and businesses. I have brought projects home for each of them so that homeowners are spared the expense and aggravation of flooding after heavy rains. There are many other worthy projects in the 120th that I have received funding for through my efforts. The lands at Hillside Farms, the Wyoming Valley Children's Association, all of our public libraries, Little Leagues, police and fire departments, a brand new playground for special needs children called McKenna's Place, just to name a few. Making sure that my communities receive a fair share of state funding when funds are available has been a high priority for me. I have brought home millions of dollars to meet community needs, but there is still so much work to be done. I have introduced many pieces of legislation because constituents brought me problems with current law. One such bill closes the legal loophole that creates an incentive for drunk drivers to flee the scene of an accident instead of staying to render aid. Another bill required notification of parents when a minor child was subpoenaed to court. Believe it or not, there was no such requirement. This bill prompted the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to adopt changes to juvenile court procedure rules. Another bill reforms long-term care insurance so that, among other things, when people invest in long-term care insurance and then a rate increase makes it no longer affordable, you at least get some of your money back. These are just a few of the issues I have worked on for the last several years. There are many others. Early childhood education, healthcare quality and cost containment, utility issues, foster children's rights, renewable energy and the environment, jobs and economic development, just to name a few. Early childhood care and education has always been an area of particular interest to me. You might remember my fight with Governor Ridge when he cut access to subsidized child care, forcing low-income working mothers to quit work, go on welfare, because they could no longer afford child care for their children. I authored the bill that created Governor Rendell's preschool program. My Ounce of Prevention bill provides grant funding to nurse home visiting programs. Now, many low-income, at-risk families get nursing visits to ensure a healthy birth of their babies and coaching to make sure that those children up to age 2 get what they need to get a good start in life. This helps break the cycle of poverty, prevents child abuse, and saves taxpayers millions in future costs as these children stay healthy and productive into adulthood. For more information about my work, I urge you to read my latest newsletter and visit my legislative and campaign websites. You can Google me. I am very easy to find on the internet. There is another issue that I would like to discuss this morning in a little more depth, and Omid touched on it. As Omid and I went door to door this summer, talking to people in my various communities, I asked people what was on their minds. One issue that came up over and over again was drilling of the Marcellus Shale for natural gas. I first became aware of the potential impact of the drilling on my constituents when a newspaper reporter showed me a map of leases that had been signed in Jackson Township. Of course, I had read about the drill sites in Lake Township, not in my district, but it seemed quite far away and of no consequence to the people I represent. But as I looked at this map, Jackson Township, which is in my district, I realized that there were leases all around the Seastown and Huntsville reservoirs. These two reservoirs provide water for drinking and household use to approximately 100,000 people in the greater Wyoming Valley. So my Harrisburg staff and I went to work to learn all we could about pending legislation on this topic. I signed on to a couple of existing bills, but the more I studied the concerns raised by the Gas Drilling Awareness Coalition, some of whom are here this morning, and I do applaud you, and I met with DEP officials and attended public meetings on the issue, I realized that existing legislation did not go nearly far enough to deal with the many problems associated with natural gas drilling using hydraulic fracturing or fracking technology. Of course, I recognize the potential benefits that Marcellus shale drilling can bring to landowners, to our local businesses, and to those who are seeking work. The current economic climate makes us very vulnerable to promises of easy money and good jobs. But I also recognize the threat of irreparable harm that this drilling poses in the absence of appropriate law and regulation as safeguards. I can assure you that the needed safeguards are not in place at this time, and it will take time to put them into law. That is why I've introduced a legislation to impose a one-year moratorium on the issuance of new drilling permits. The recent disasters from Marcellus shale drilling that we read about almost every day, as well as the devastating oil spill in the Gulf, have clearly revealed that accidents can and do occur despite the empty promises and even the best of intentions of the oil and natural gas industry. The most serious threat from the drilling is to our public water supply. Current law provides for only a 100-foot buffer around our reservoirs. I have introduced a bill that would create a 2,500-foot buffer around a primary source of supply for a community water system, such as Lake Scranton or Huntsville and Seastown reservoirs. The bill would also prohibit drilling underneath the reservoir and would prohibit DEP from waiving this requirement. Another piece of legislation I've introduced is a resolution urging Congress to repeal the Halliburton loophole, which exempts, believe it or not, the oil and gas industry from provisions of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Another of my bills would create a simple tracking and reporting system for wastewater produced by Marcellus shale natural gas wells. It would allow the public to track wastewater produced from the drilling from cradle to grave. It would promote public confidence that this wastewater, laced with brine and toxic chemicals, is being disposed of properly and not dumped in our streams and woodlands to save money. We need time to put the necessary safeguards in place. We need a moratorium. In closing, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for allowing me the honor and the privilege of representing the interests of the hard-working middle-class families of the 120th District for the last 20 years. Sarah, Lana, my Harrisburg staff and I have all worked very hard for you. We ask for your help and support as we fight to continue working on your behalf as your voice in Harrisburg and your help here at home, because there is so much work yet to be done. Thank you.